You are listening to the Yummy Mummy Podcast, episode number 183.
Welcome to the Yummy Mummy Podcast, where you will learn brand new and shockingly different tools to lose weight for the last time. And now, here's your host, certified life and weight loss coach, Laura Conley.
Hey, Yummy Mummies and Jenny, the Nutritionist fans. We have a very special episode because we're doing a little pod swap, you guys. So I am having Jenny on my podcast and Jenny is having me on her podcast. So just so you guys know who the hell Jenny is the nutritionist and she is my good coaching friend, bestie. I was just in California with her masterminding and I feel like I've known you forever, but give us your intro. Like, who are you? What do you do? Who do you coach? Where do you live? Tell us all the things.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for doing this collab with me. So first, my name is Jenny, or Jenny the Nutritionist on Instagram and all of the things. And I'm a nutrition coach for ladies who lift weights and want to build muscle, decrease body fat, really understand the science behind food in their bodies and create their nutrition routine that runs on autopilot. So that's what I do and who I work with. And I'm currently living in Bali, Indonesia. So I started traveling 5 years ago and just hopping around to all the different countries around the world and then kind of have settled here as of now. So this is where we're at and it's fantastic and we love it. So that's about me. But also, since you'll also be on my podcast, can you share who you are, what you do, who you work with?
Yes, totally. Okay. So my name's Laura Conley, and I am the founder and creator of the Yummy Mummy, specifically the Yummy Mummy method. So I help moms and women lose weight for the last time and become free from food forever. Also, that they can live their big, awesome lives. I want all of my clients to kind of go out with a bang. Oftentimes, this weight and the diet drama is in the way of us living the lives that we want and creating what we want, being present with our families and our friends. So yeah, I run groups that guarantees permanent weight loss. I don't know what else to tell you. I have kids. I have a 4-year-old boy named Phoenix and a 6-year-old daughter named Luna. Luna was my why. I had Luna and I was like, oh shit, I got to get over my diet drama because I'm going to pass it down to her. And I didn't want to pass it down to my son too, because my husband still has a little body drama. He doesn't want to go to the pool because he got made fun of for being skinny. So I want to heal this for our sons and our daughters. So they're not sitting at the freaking cafeteria table playing contests with their friends of like how little they can eat like I did. So this is really like a legacy that I want to leave for my kids and want to give other moms and women the tools to do so for their kids. So yeah. And I have a husband. He's Brian. He's 41. And we live right outside of Boulder, Colorado.
I love it. So I know we talked about this topic of aging, and I feel like we do work with like generally a similar population in meaning that they are females and they have physique goals. But then I think our specific niches definitely vary, but there's always overlap where, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you really focus on the person who this is not just a bump in the road for them, but this is like a huge weight on their shoulders where they want to remove it so they can go live their life. And they may not be in the gym and obsessed with the fitness world. And you really use a handful of different tools, I know, but you also you teach awesome mindset, which hopefully you'll be able to share some with my audience today. Whereas I'm really focused on the person who loves fitness. They love the gym. They enjoy learning about nutrition, but they're frustrated because they're like, wait a minute, I'm implementing all these things, but I'm not like, I don't look like I work out. Like, what the heck? This is so frustrating. What am I missing? And for me, I lean on a little bit more of like science and strategy and a little bit more fine-tuned so they can look like they work out and be well-fed and just fueled and capable. But with all of that, I think there's a lot of overlap. And I know the topic today is aging. And I know, especially for females, that's always a concern. And there's a lot of myths and misconceptions out there of like, oh, we're just all doomed and we're just all going to look like crap and we're going to become overweight and get wrinkles and the whole thing. So I know we want to talk about that through the lens of nutrition and fitness and mindset. So Do you want to start us off, or do you have any
Yeah.
initial questions?
No, I mean, I think you did such a good job of like separating out, but also like showing the similarities in our audiences for sure. I think a lot of my mamas and women love working out, but I think some of them do it as punishment, right? Or to earn their weekends, right? And so I think that's one of the ways that we free the moms is like, no, working out is like a form of self-care. It is a way to be healthy mentally. Like it's just my me time now. I like love it so much. I'm so glad that it's become unhinged from like my calorie goal or whatever it used to be back in the day, which I don't do that anymore. But I know that my clients are asking me all the time, like, how do we essentially age gracefully or going into perimenopause and menopause? Like, what are some, like, they'll just ask me specifically, like, what are some workouts we should be doing and what are some workouts we shouldn't be doing? So, of course, I have an idea, but I feel like you're an expert in this area. So, I'd love to hear your perspective on that. For the woman who's 35 to 55, like, what should or shouldn't we be doing? Because sometimes we can overdo it and sometimes we can underdo it.
Yes, totally. So first, I just have to say, like the misconception of that we just get kind of worse with age, like it just happens. Like I've talked to so many people that are just like, oh, well, I'm getting older, so now blah, 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 blah. Oh, I'm getting older, so this, blah, 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 blah. And I just want to like debunk that because the amount of ladies that I've worked with that are like, wait, what? I look better now in my 40s than I did in my 20s. Like, how did that happen? And I think it goes back to like, we've never been taught nutrition. We've never been taught like how to like fuel our bodies. And so what worked, I put in like air quotes, back in the day isn't working now because we were just guessing back in the day. Like back in the day, they were still more optimal ways than just restricting calories and working out more and more and more. So I think that's the first thing is once you understand that there's like science and strategy behind this, it's not that you just get worse with age. Like you can actually get better with age.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk about that too, because that's mindset, right? It's like, if you believe that you're going to get worse with age, you are going to get worse with age. Like you are going to create that for yourself. But if you can like hold the belief that Jenny's just given you of like, no, actually I could get better. It's possible that I can feel better and have more energy and more zest for the day, then you will create that. So it really is possible. And I think that's such a great place to start, that it doesn't have to like all go to hell in a handbasket.
No, it's your physique is more of a compounding result of what you've done over the past months to years versus it just naturally declining. So if someone's in, let's say they are in a poor position or a position where they don't want to be, it's more so likely that it is from whatever they've been doing these past handful of years versus just aging, which is awesome because you can have the flip of that, right?
Yeah.
That means like you can create these compounding results where, okay, this year I'm achieving X goal. And then next year, for a lot of my ladies, right, it's also building muscle. It's not just like constantly decreasing body fat, but this year I am, improving my body composition. And then next year you build off of that. So you're exactly right. It is a mindset shift because a lot of people just don't even know that's a thing or that's possible. So to answer your question though about training, I am a huge fan of lifting weights. Obviously, that's who I work with. But at the same time, whether you value building muscle or not, it is so beneficial, not only for like our physiques, which I know so many people want to improve their physiques. It makes decreasing body fat so much easier in benefiting how you look, right? Of course. But just being able, I know the young moms have kids, right? Just being able to run with your kids, to pick up your kids, to play with your kids and to have that strength, especially, I remember, I'll never forget this. My mom, I was 10, she was 40, and I had all my friends over and we were doing gymnastic stuff and she did a front handspring. And I remember being like, my mom is the coolest mom ever. That is so awesome. Like just thinking it was the coolest thing ever. And now I'm 34 and the other week I was like, can I still do a front handspring? Oh my gosh, I have to be able to do it by the time, like when I'm 40, because my mom could. How fun is that though, that she could do a front handspring? Now, I'm not saying everyone needs to do a front handspring.
My party trick is a backflip on the trampoline. My husband's like, really? Do you have to do a backflip every time there's a trampoline to like impress everybody? And I'm like, I actually do, because I have to see if I can still do it.
Yes, I love it. But then also one of the biggest reasons for strength training is osteoporosis. So as we age, as females age, and getting a little sciencey here, but estrogen, the hormone, will decrease, especially once you hit menopause. And estrogen is a bone supporting hormone. And as that decreases, it just can set you up to have osteoporosis, which is weakening of the bones, which then you're more likely to get injured and all of that. So building muscle and resistance training is how you build stronger bones. So that is also why I'm really a big fan of lifting weights. Now, I know people are thinking like, oh my gosh, I've got to have 500 pounds on a barbell doing deadlifts. And I'm like, no, that's not all that I'm talking about. Like if you have 5-pound dumbbells in your hand, you are lifting weights. Now, when you lift that, right, then you should be able to continuously like improve again. That's compounding results, improve off of that. And then within the next couple of months, you might be lifting 7.5 pounds to 10 pounds, right? That can continually increase. But that is my answer. Do you have anything that you found that you coach your ladies on in your suggestions?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, my answer would be the same as resistance training for sure. And again, you don't have to like, I think so many of us, at least my clients, probably yours too. I think this is just kind of the way of the world, or like the culture that we've been brought up in, is very all or nothing, black and white thinking. And to your point, like, yeah, you don't have to like lift heavy. You don't have to bench press 500 pounds. 5 pounds is plenty. Just, it's about, can you get 1% better every single day? Like, can just this week you go to a class where you lift weights? But my answer would be, especially like women going into perimenopause and menopause, is to stay away from crazy intense like HIIT workouts, because I think that can really screw up our hormones and like increase our cortisol, like specifically. And I know a lot of my clients, well, I don't want to say a lot. Let me just speak from personal experience. I was in the gym doing like 2-a-days back in my dieting days. And I, because of that, had adrenal fatigue. And I think going into perimenopause, that's something we want to look out for. So like you're saying, lifting weights, resistance training, but not HIIT workouts, not where you are like dying, where you're tasting that like iron taste when you like can taste blood in your mouth. Like I like to recommend gentle walks or power walks, whatever, like let's go 90s mom mall walking, whatever. I mean, even like light jogging, whatever, yoga. I love yoga. I think all of that's so great for mobility and strength too, actually, depending on what kind of yoga you're doing. But the most important thing is, and this is what I tell my clients at the beginning, which, you know, is not exactly what you teach, but that's okay. I don't teach that my clients have to work out. If they are working out, great, keep working out, but not as a way to punish yourself or to earn your cupcake, right? And I do think that working out is amazing. I work out every single day or whatever, 6 or 7 days a week. But again, it's not these crazy intense workouts that I used to do. I used to go to spinning and then a HIIT workout and then yoga. And then like that still wasn't even enough. Like me and my best friend used to have like these fitness days on the weekends. And we'd work out for like literally like 7 hours. It was so disordered. Like it really genuinely was. And the reason why I'm like, you don't have to work out to lose weight is because I want us improving 1% and then 1% and then 1%. So like, yes, if I had my ideal client come in, maybe she's not working out, but maybe we added in 3 months or 4 months or 5 months in, once her diet is dialed and she's losing a lot of weight, I kind of building that confidence that I can do it and then adding it in. And a lot of people do work out to lose weight, but I don't think it's the best way to lose weight. I think working out is great because then you feel good in your body. And when you feel good in your body, you feel connected to your body, you're going to naturally want to feed it and fuel it healthy food. So it's not like I don't love to teach working out for the calorie deficit. I love to teach working out so that you have the physique, so that you are strong, so that you can age and not break your bones, so that you can support lean muscle mass for like all the bazillion benefits that are there. And so that you feel good in your body on a daily basis. Like it is like a spiritual experience for me sometimes working out. Like I feel so connected to myself and my body. So I don't know. I don't know if you could speak to any of that, but
I completely agree. You don't have to work out to be skinny. And I think people don't realize that. You do not. That is all nutrition, which maybe we get into next, but that is all nutrition. And so I totally agree that you have to first have like a great relationship with yourself, with food. And I think you really help people do that. And then add on the training, right? For yourself to feel good. Like there's no doubt you'll feel good when you're working out. And then I feel like as people go along that journey, and some say like they get bit by the fitness bug, right? And then they love lifting weights and they love working out and they're in that space and maybe more like fine tuning things, right? But from a place of like excitement and joy, and it's like their hobby, and it's like, this is my time. This is what I love. Like, and then those are the people I work out with. But you have to have that relationship with food first and not do it from punishment, but get to that place where you're doing it from enjoyment. So I totally agree with all of that. But building off of that, you don't have to work out to be skinny. Like thinking of training, like this is how I coach my ladies. I'm curious your thoughts on this, where training is used kind of like what you said, like, are you enjoying it? Like we're not using training to burn calories because it's just not as efficient as just managing nutrition. So we're using training to either it's something that you enjoy. I actually don't even push like cardio and all of the things because it's just not efficient to build your shape. Like use your training to build muscle indoor if it's something you enjoy. Use your training to build muscle.
I remember you did a post about it. You were like, it's just so much more efficient if I cut out this half a cup of rice or whatever it was. There was something about that.
Yes. So, well, first use training to build muscle and then manage your nutrition to manage your body fat. So for example,
so good.
If I wanted to decrease and go into a calorie deficit of 100 calories, I could either spend 20 minutes on the Stairmaster every single day after my workout, right? So every single day after my workout, 20 minutes. Or when I'm making my plate of dinner, instead of getting a full cup of rice, I could just get a half cup of rice. And that would be, obviously, it's the same amount of time and it's 2 seconds versus 20 minutes at the gym on the Stairmaster every single day. It's like just so much more effective and efficient with nutrition. So
especially if you don't have the like emotional tie to the half a cup of rice. So what's so cool there is there's an opportunity to look at, if you have a little bit of deprivation, or you feeling restricted, or you have a little grief over giving up the half a cup of rice, that's a huge coaching opportunity to look at like, what is that rice providing you with? And how can you get that from something that will actually give you what you need, if it's comfort or support or love or stress relief or whatever. I just thought that was an interesting kind of tangent because for you, it's like, oh yeah, just get rid of a half a cup of rice. And for some of us, it's like, oh my God, don't you dare take a half a cup of rice away from me. That is like the highlight of my day. And that's where I think some of the mindset coaching can come in and like be really mind-blowing, actually.
Yeah. I have questions for you about that. So first, I want to preface this with, I know we went like straight into the calorie deficit, but I feel like I just have to say what I teach and part of the strategy, going back to the science, is step one is you have to eat enough first. So if you don't eat enough first, then removing that half a cup of rice feels like, oh my gosh, no, my nutrients. But if you're already eating so much, which most of my ladies work up to 2,000 calories or more per day, which like that is needed, especially if you're working out or lifted. Then they're at a place where like, oh my gosh, like I'm getting so much food in, like they're not even going to notice that half a cup of rice because they're so like satiated, right? So getting
It's
that
so
place
good.
first. But I am curious because of course, mindset is always tied in with nutrition and food. And I love how you pointed out that it's like that could be like a coaching moment. How would you, if you are feeling that way, how would you like coach yourself through that? Or what are some of the steps that you take?
Yeah, I think I would ask that same question of like, what is the rice? I think it would come up more if somebody decided that they were going to cut the entire cup of rice, or they were going to cut, let's say, sweets, or they were going to cut wine, or they're going to cut, I don't know, fill in the blank. And like, I don't teach that we cut anything completely out. Like, there's always room for your favorite thing. And I know you teach that too.
Totally agree. Yeah.
So that's just one piece, is like, you can totally have whatever the thing is. It just, you have to plan for it. And it can't be every day, all day, most likely. Like, most likely you can't eat cupcakes every day, all day and weigh what you want. So let's say you're like, okay, I'm not going to have my nightly cupcake. And then it comes time for you to have the cupcake, but you said you weren't going to have it. Then there's going to be a feeling there, or the half a cup of rice, right? What is the feeling that you feel? Is it deprived? Is it sad? Is it FOMO? What is it? And then I teach my clients how to feel that feeling through an acronym called NOW. Like, let's feel the feeling now. And so I would say, name the feeling. Okay, I'm feeling bummed. Okay. Oftentimes just naming it makes the feeling go poof. So they name the feeling. Okay, I'm feeling really bummed. That's the N of the now. Then the O is okaying it. Oh, it's okay that I'm bummed. I'm allowed to feel bummed. Of course I feel bummed. I really want the cupcake. Of course I want the cupcake, because the cupcake's been designed for me to want it. And it's literally been manufactured to get the highest percentage of dopamine possible to like light my brain up. And your lower brain's job is to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And the cupcake is pleasurable. It's been designed that way. And it is a little tiny bit painful to say no. So N, name the feeling, I'm bummed. O, okay the feeling, it's okay. And then witness, W is witness. Where is the feeling in my body? Okay, it's in my stomach. It feels heavy. And then taking a deep breath. So that's the first part of it. But also then asking, and this is what I ask all my women and all my young moms to do, because you've probably had this experience before, like, and I do too, still from time to time. I'm like hanging out in front of the fridge, or I just like wander into the pantry and I'm not hungry. And I'm like, what am I doing in here? Like, what am I actually looking for? And so that's the question. It's like, what are you looking for? Like, what is the cupcake giving you? What is it providing you with? It's not fuel. There's something else. So can you name it? Is it stress relief? Is it a reward? Is it happiness? Like, what is it? Pleasure? What is it? And that's okay. Now, from there, how can you give yourself the comfort in another way? So is it bubble bath? Is it even just scheduling a massage? Is it getting into bed with fresh sheets early? And I'm going to be honest, you're not going to get the high. Going to bed early with fresh sheets and your favorite book with your face mask on is not as high of a high as the cupcake. You still get a teeny bit of a hit. You still get a little high, but the benefit there is on the other side. You have the net positive of comforting yourself in a way that's a true pleasure instead of a false pleasure. The cupcake, for most of us, like, not my husband, like he can basically just eat whatever he wants and it doesn't have a negative effect. For now, I'm like, just wait, babe. But my point is, like, the cupcake for a lot of my clients, and maybe your clients, has a net negative when we are eating it every single night. So what can you do that has a net neutral or a net positive, but still comforts you, but still gives you the stress relief, but still gives you a reward? So I know that's kind of a long-winded answer to like how we overcome that, but
no,
yeah.
I love it. And I align with that a lot and kind of teach something similar, because you're exactly right. It's like, okay, just be aware of what's happening right now. Be aware, and then realizing like, oh, wait, what am I actually searching for? I can get this from somewhere else. Like, a lot of times, my ladies, it might be that glass of wine at the end of the night. And then they realize, like when we do this exercise, that it's actually not the glass of wine. They just want to relax. And it's like, oh, do you know how many teas are made to help you relax, or how many like natural supplements there are to help you relax? Or they may want like a good tasting drink, and they just didn't, and their good tasting go-to was wine. So they just assumed they wanted wine. But when they actually think about it, they're like, wait, I actually just want something that like bubbles. And I'm like, oh, great. Like, what else could that be? And I'm like, yeah, put it in a wine glass, put the sparkling water with your lime in, your lime juice and your lemon juice, and like a pinch of salt. And it's like such a delicious little nightcap. Or sometimes it's like the environment, right? Like the fireplace going. They want the cozy blanket and they want the hot mug, right? Sometimes it's like the environment too. But I think that's so good, especially emphasizing that first, the now that you shared. I love that acronym. And emphasizing that. I think it just gives people, they're more in tune with their bodies and they're more in control. And then after that, you can realize like, oh wait, I can actually just swap this out for something else to create the feelings I really want to create. It's so good. I love that.
Well, you're totally right. It's totally an awareness practice. And so many of us are just performing habits that aren't serving us. We're just performing these habits with no awareness, just totally on autopilot. And and that's why coaching is so powerful, right? Is because you have somebody helping you to like pull out the magnifying glass and to like get aware, right?
If not, they just think like, okay, I need to resist. I have to resist the cupcake, or I have to resist the glass of wine. And then they're just like kind of obsessing over the resistance, which feels awful, right? And they think that is how you succeed. They just have to get better at resisting, when really it's a totally different practice, or it can be a totally different practice that still is enjoyable.
Exactly. It's like we're not taking all the fun away. Like there's still so much fun, and you can wake up the next morning feeling proud because you've had it in a way that serves you. I think like the resistance that you're talking about, it's like willpower, right? It's like willpower is not a renewable resource. It will run out. And really what I teach is what I call allow power. It's like allowing yourself to have the urge, like, oh yeah, of course I want it. I was just on a coaching call earlier today, and it's like, the aha of the call was like, just admit it. Like, just admit it to yourself that you want it. And when you like agree with yourself, it doesn't mean that you're going to have whatever the thing is. But if you can just admit it to yourself, the resistance like disintegrates. Like there's so much relief. I mean, it's still not the most pleasant thing. I'm not going to lie. It's still not the most pleasant thing the first or second time you say no, thank you, when you want the cupcake or the wine or whatever the thing is. But it's way more pleasant than using willpower. It's way more pleasant than like white knuckling it.
Yes. And I feel like once you do this process too, and then you get to a point where you like your body just craves whatever you consistently give it. So once you turn the corner on that, then you don't crave it anymore. And then you don't even think about it, right? And that's what we all want. We don't even want to think about it. We just want to be like well fueled, like in our awesome shape where it's like second nature and we don't even have to think about it. But something that I notice is it's almost like our standards change. Like if you remember back in the day, well, you met your husband in college, but if you think before that, guys that you've dated, right? And now you're like, oh my gosh, I would never date that person. Like it just gives you the icks thinking about it and being like, oh, that's like, oh no, never. Like that's exactly how people feel with food. Because now I just had someone in their check-in submit, like, it's kind of strange. Like typically I'm going on vacation next week, and typically my whole, like, I would be so excited just about the alcohol and being like, oh my gosh, it's open. Like we're on a cruise, it's open bar the whole time. And I would be so like, that would be what I'm looking forward to the most. And she was like, last weekend I had like a drink and I didn't even finish it because I just don't even desire it or want it anymore. And she was like, I never thought this would be me. And it's only because what you constantly give yourself. And then I think too, when you learn and understand the science behind it of how it's actually flowing through your body and what it's doing, it alters your mind, it alters your taste buds. And she now has her good tasting drinks. Aaron, my boyfriend, he doesn't drink alcohol. So he calls them GTD, And he's always like, oh, I really want a GTD. It's like, he's like coined that term. And I love it though, because it's like, oh, that's like an exciting taste, right? But
Yeah.
same thing, now that she's got her like good tasting drinks, those are superior to her than the alcohol. I think that's so fun to see that. And then the same thing happens with the cupcake, right? Now, like my standards have changed where I do not want grocery store bakery. I don't want grocery store cupcakes. I'm like, oh, this doesn't even taste good. Like if I want something like a treat, like I want it to be good. Like, like just for my taste bud.
Agreed. Yeah. Like, no, you really do change your biology. I think about my babies, right? Like they used to wake up in the middle of the night to breastfeed. And then I pulled the plug on both of their little asses and they freaked. They were so pissed for like 2 nights. And then they were like, didn't care. They just slept through the night. It's like they were really mad, just like we are. I'm really mad when I take XYZ away, or, you know, when I did back in the day when I was healing all of this stuff. But you get over it very quickly, to your point about your client with the alcohol. And it's like, now my kids like would probably barf if I tried to give them breast milk.
They would run so fast.
They're like, here, get on the boob. Let's go. No, it's just, yeah, you really can train yourself. And like my clients too, because a lot of them move away from like processed foods, and they say the same thing. Like to your point about the bakery, they're like, if I do eat that now, I just feel so gross, and it just empowers me to continue to eat in a way that serves me and is like super healthy for my body.
Yes, 100%. So I'm also curious too on, I think as females age, obviously there's so much pressure to get the Botox and to maintain being, I'm putting in air quotes, like hot. Like there's all this pressure there, which I think it's like anything, right? You can approach it and like make yourself miserable, or you can approach it and be like, oh, this is something I can have fun with and I can do, and I'm still awesome in all of the things. But I'm curious on your thoughts and if this comes up and how you coach on it, because it's definitely a thing that all females go through, especially in 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond.
Yeah, for sure. So I always tell everybody before they come in the program, like the way that we lose weight for the last time is through hunger hormone balance, mindset, emotional intelligence, accountability. And the last pillar is fun, love. And part of that is love and learning to love ourselves. And a lot of my clients will like just cringe and they're like, oh God, no, I just want to be skinny. I do not care about loving myself. Like no, I'm not signing up. And I'm like, no, trust me. Like you're with yourself every day, all day. You're going to want to learn to love yourself. So I do get them going right away. Like they are losing weight right away. And then it's like I've sort of tricked them in to the program. I'm like, sorry, this is just a part of the curriculum. You have to learn to love yourself. I mean, you don't have to, but like it is a part of what we do. It is a part of the syllabus. Like we spend like over a month, and it is a part of our week to week as well. We learn how to actually love ourselves, to love our bodies, and then to love the way our bodies look. So it's 3 separate types of love. And no one ever taught this to us. And I'm like, because a lot of my clients will come in and they'll be like, well, if I can just look this way or weigh this weight, then I'll love myself. But it's not true, because they'll just figure out something else to pick apart. And I'm like, even if you skip all of the body love, all of the self-love, all the way my body looks love stuff that I teach, which is basically inescapable, you're going to screw yourself, because we're all going to age. So you might as well learn to love yourself, because you are going to get a wrinkle. Like, and the bar just keeps getting higher and higher. Like you can't outrun aging. Like there's not enough Botox. There's not enough plastic surgery. There's not enough of all of that so that you can feel good. Like it is an inside job, and that's why we have to learn it. And so I'm almost grateful. Like I'm so grateful I had to go through this work, because I learned to love myself. And so like, I just care less about a lot of things that like maybe culture thinks I should care about. Like I'm just not going to get Botox. I don't care. It's just like, I don't have time for that shit. I'm busy. I don't want to spend time getting shots in my face. No. And I don't care if other people do, but to your point, it's like, can it be from a place of like for makeup? Like I do wear a little bit of makeup. I just do it because I think it's fun, and it like brightens me up a little bit. It makes me feel a little bit alive. right? And that's okay because we are going to age and we can't get in front of it. There's no pill you can take. There's no supplement. There's no surgery. There's nothing. Like, you're going to have to face your inner demons at some point. So let's do it, get it over with, because it is a choice. You can choose to love yourself. And why the hell wouldn't you? Because you're, again, to my point, like, you are with yourself every single day, all day. Like, think of your worst enemy from third grade. Can you imagine if they were like sitting next to you all day, every day? Or I don't know why it's third grade, but think of someone who you don't like, right? So many of us have like these horrible inner critics, and that is a choice. Like, that can be changed. So yeah, it's like, let's all change if we want to, and we like our reasons, and it's coming from a place of love and not from a place of like having to earn our worth or earn our good enoughness, because I think that is just, oh God, it's perpetual in our society. So
totally. And I want to add something onto that, because I did bikini shows back in the day, and then I did CrossFit competitions back in the day. And I remember growing up, like, Victoria's Secret models were like the thing, right? And like, that's, you just want to be really long and super skinny. And then as I got into CrossFit, like, having muscle is like the thing. And that's like, oh my gosh, everyone wants to have muscles. And then I did a bikini show, and I like learned, like, oh my gosh, there's like actual science and strategy behind, you can like mold your shape in these different ways. And if you want a round, big, juicy glutes, you can like build that, but then you can have like leaner arms within a shoulder cap, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, wait a minute, like, there's so many different types of bodies that you can create, and everyone has this like ideal like image in their head of like the quote like perfect body or the ideal body, but most people's aren't the same. And I'm like, wait a minute, if that's the case, then there's no like getting there. There's no like, oh my gosh, everyone has to look like this, or I have to look like this, because everyone's view of like beauty or like the best physique, whatever, is all different. So this is actually something I kick off my program with I call it a mini nutrition seminar, where you actually learn like the science behind building muscle and decrease body fat. But also I start off with this, because I'm like, I know in your head right now, you have this like ideal goal, and you're like, I am not worthy, or I am not like going to be good enough until I hit this. But everyone you hang around with, all like everybody in my group, right, has a different version in their head. So I think just that alone, like, kind of debunks this like, oh, I have to look a certain way, especially as we age and all of that stuff. And I think it's really fun that you get to create that for yourself. And it can be from this place of love you've shared of like, what do I like? Like, I know there's a handful of ladies I follow that like, they're all into aging, and they think aging is like beautiful and the best thing ever. And maybe I agree with that, maybe I don't, but I love following them because they're so into it, and just having a clear like vision in your mind and creating that. And even if it's like different, is so attractive. Like, just being
it's so attractive.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it's coming from your own inner truth, and it's coming from you, and it's like choice, and you get to decide, and nobody else gets to say what looks good. You ultimately get to decide. And I think that's like super empowering. I think that's so cool.
Yes. I've had someone before, once they like accomplish the first step of eating enough, then they're like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. I feel great. I have more muscle. I'm looking good. And I've had some people be like, well, wait a minute, I don't want to lose too much body fat because I still want a little in my chest and in my booty. And I'm like, yes, like, let's go, because that's so fun. It's like, they're both dials that you can turn, like, of how much muscle you want or how much body fat you want. They're all dials you can turn. And then also you can turn them like where, not necessarily body fat, but like muscle. Like, you can add on muscle to create like illusions in your shape. And it's like, that's why my program's called Create Your Shape, because you can literally create and mold your shape. And it's so fun, but it's so much more fun when you're doing it from a place of like, wait, this is my vision and this is what I want to do. And like, I love myself as is, but like, how fun would it be to just be able to like do things I love and go into the gym and learn how to fine tune this and create the result. It's almost like if you're playing the piano or if you're knitting, right? You get to knit this sweater. You don't sit down and be like, oh my gosh, I've got to knit today. And like, oh, mad, and be like, oh, I've got to knit 5 rows. I know this because my mom knit. But anyway, I got to knit 5 rows and I got to choose this color. Like, we don't do that. It's like a fun hobby. And it could feel the same way with your physique. And
Love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Okay, so I have a couple of questions. So you talk a lot about calories and I don't. And so I'm curious, what I teach is blood sugar balance, like as a way to lose weight. So I'm just curious, like, why calorie deficit? I mean, sometimes you're doing calorie surplus too, I'm guessing, depending on what your goal is for the client.
Yep.
But can you just talk a little bit about why you focus on calories versus blood sugar? And I'm just totally curious.
Yeah. So zooming out, I think that if you don't have a good relationship with your body and with food, adding on calories doesn't make sense. And so I agree with you. And then I think it's better to go through a lens of what types of food are you having and when are you having throughout the day. And I think that aligns with blood sugar balance, right? Because I think that's more of the issue and that's a better approach for where that person's at. But then when it comes down to like fine tuning your shape, where I work with ladies who have less than 40 pounds to lose, maybe even less than 30 pounds. Maybe they're just like, I don't really care about the scale. I just want to look like I work out more, which means build muscle and decrease body fat. But it's less around like weight loss and more around changing your body composition. And so it's just a different level where you are now fine tuning your shape. And so in order to fine tune your shape, you have to have a fine tune plan, which is custom macros and calories. So if you think about like bodybuilders, for example, people I know may not think like, I don't want to be a bodybuilder. I'm like, yeah, I get it. But
yeah, you guys should see Jenny. She's tiny. I mean, she has really big, strong muscles, but she's really...
No, it's like I like to think of it as like everyday athlete, right? Like when someone walks into the room and if you look at the person, you're like, okay, they work out. Like you can just tell, like, wait a minute, they look fit. That's the vision there. But the people who are molding their shapes and literally like fine tuning things are using calories and macros because it is how you get to that next level, because you can be so specific to you and what you need.
Oh, okay. That is such a good answer. I love that answer.
So, but kind of the reverse of that, going back to, like we said, like if you're not at that stage yet, I don't think everyone has to do calories and macros. I think there's so many different ways depending on where you're at. So I'd love to hear, how do you teach balancing blood sugar?
Okay. So I just am obsessed with that answer because it's not black and white and all or nothing thinking. And so many of my clients, so many maybe of your clients, again, get stuck in that. And it's like, there's not just one answer. So blood sugar balance, the reason I teach blood sugar balance or how I teach it is, well, ultimately because that's what freed me from all of the drama and all of the counting. And I let that trigger me, right? Emotionally, like I didn't have all the tools. So for me, well, I'll speak to my story and then I'll tell you how I teach it. But for me, it just freed me. It allowed me to not be hungry all the time. It allowed me to be very fat adapted, which when I say fat adapted, that just means the way that I describe it is that my body can use the fat on my body for fuel without having a big temper tantrum, or it can use food for fuel. But like I was hangry all the time. So I think I was like on this blood sugar roller coaster of like eating oatmeal for breakfast and then 2 hours later being starving, but being like, I can't eat again because I'm going to have to eat like 7 times today. And then I'm never going to hit my goals and all this drama. So when I like found blood sugar balance and started adopting it and implementing it, 99% of my cravings and like the temptations went away. And so that's why it was so free. It was like, I was like out of this trap. So the way that I teach it is very individualized, which can sound kind of funny. And I know you kind of do the same thing. Like you run these group programs, but everybody in my group has a different plan that they're on. So I just teach them step by step how to create blood sugar balance by removing certain foods most of the time. And so like for me, what I do is I just don't eat processed sugar and I don't eat flour. Again, most of the time. Like I mean, we've been together. We were in California and I had some banana bread or whatever. So there will be times where I will enjoy it, but it's just not all the time anymore. And so that's what I do. And a lot of my clients do something very similar. And it just depends. Like some of my clients will do just no sugar. Some of my clients will do no sugar, no flour, no white potatoes. And now I'm trying to say, like, one of my clients, she's so cute. She's like, what if we said like sugar free or we're flour free? And I'm like, oh, I like that concept so much more than saying no sugar, no flour, because it doesn't feel as tight, right? And then most of my clients will have like a treat or like a splurge once a week, and not like a huge, like this was me in my dieting days. I used to have like a cheat day, and then it turned into a cheat weekend. And I was constantly, again, on that roller coaster, the blood sugar roller coaster, but also like the weight loss roller coaster with like, I lose 2 pounds in a week and then I gain 3 on the weekend and then start all over again. That was the story of my life. And so just having one ice cream cone a week or something like that I really sit down and enjoy, instead of like binging my face off and then feeling energetically like and emotionally like total ass. So, and then sometimes my clients will wear continuous glucose monitors. I don't recommend it. It's not part of my program. I've worn continuous glucose monitors, and I can pretty much tell without a continuous glucose monitor when my blood sugar is spiking, especially when it's crashing, for sure. So, and I love the continuous glucose monitor because it can tell me like, oh, I thought that Catalina Crunch was so keto, and I don't teach keto, but there are things that spike me that I didn't actually think. Most of the time I can tell, but sometimes there's like little sneaky things. And so yeah.
That's interesting because I hear you like talk about this, right? And I've always wondered like, how does she teach that or whatever? But now I realize like, oh yeah, there's so much overlap. So I don't spend a lot of time on this, but I do start off with, I call like the foundational guidelines, but essentially it's doing what you're sharing of balancing blood sugar. But 2 things that I recommend is 1, have a daily structure, meaning when are you eating? And make that repeatable every day. So for example, for me, I have breakfast, I have a snack, I have lunch, I have a snack, and then I have dinner, right? And you can make it work for you, but make it systemized. So it's every day. So that way you're not like, oh, I'm having a little bit of this and then I'm starving. I'm having a little bit of this, and you're grazing and you're again spiking insulin in blood sugar and going up and down, right?
Oh, that's so good. I love that. I mean, I love for my clients to do that too. Like I like them to pick how many meals am I going to have instead of just like flying by the seat of their pants.
And then the second part to that is what I call create your plate. And that on each plate, which again, if you're lifting weights, you need carbs. So I think that at certain points, like some people may need to reduce carbs, but at this point you need carbs and likely have been like not having carbs because you're shunning them or just having them sporadically where then you go off the deep end with them, but including carbs. So create your plate at each meal, meaning, okay, you already know when you're eating. And then at each meal, you're having a source of protein, a source of starchy carbs. That may be the rice, the potatoes, the whatever, or tortilla. And then the third is having vegetables. So when you combine all 3 of those together, you're getting in all of these macros, but then you're also managing insulin and blood sugars because you're getting in protein with your carbs, you're getting in fiber with your carbs. So when you set that up, then even if you're not tracking macros, like I love macros and calories, but I think you should know what to do if you don't have them, right? And then you just go back to this structure, your daily structure, and then creating your plate at each meal. And then the beauty of this is, if you think about it, right? If you have, let's say, for easy math, your goal is 120 grams of protein each day. If you're having 4 meals, you can just divide that. And then, at each meal, I need about 30 grams of protein. And that's about the size of your hand. So then at every meal, I need about the size of my hand of protein. This is just an example.
Yeah.
But even if you're not tracking macros, even if you're out to dinner, even if you're on vacation, even if you're at your best friend's baby shower, you can still, I'm putting in quotes, hit your macros and get the quantity of specific food you need without even looking at an app, right? So I going back to your like slogan of like free the moms, like I think a lot of times calories and macros can feel really restricting, but the way I like to teach it and like break it down for people, it's like, oh, actually, no, it's very simple and there's categories and you don't even actually need an app to get in the amount of food that you need. This is, I could go on and on about it because I get really excited about it, but going back to the blood sugar and going back to that foundational piece, I think it's awesome that you teach that because I think it is the first step.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Okay, so if someone's having rice at their meal, will you teach for them to eat it at the end of the meal? Because I will still spike if I eat rice or like potatoes in a meal and it's not at the end. And even if it's at the end, I will still get a little bit of a spike.
So I think having blood sugar spikes, like I think especially if you are like lifting weights, and I don't think it's like the end all be all,
Worst thing ever.
right?
Yeah.
Like, because after you work out, your blood sugar is going to spike, right? So it's not like it's always terrible. And then it always goes back to like, what is the, I've been using this term lately. What is like the king daddy? What is the thing that like truly matters and is going to get you the results? And that's going to come into like, if you are in the phase one of eating enough, like, are you eating enough to get the nutrients in to build muscle? And then when you're in the deficit phase, are you hitting target? So that's still the king daddy.
Yeah.
But then as far as timing, no, I would say I don't, but I have like started playing around with certain individuals of trying different things like that. But it's not something that I'm like, you have to eat this first and this. But yeah, having the protein and the fiber first and then having the carbs, I think would be more beneficial.
What about like going into perimenopause, menopause, or just aging in general? Is there anything that you recommend in terms of like supplements, or are you a fan of like hormone replacement therapy? Like, what's your take on that?
Yes. So first, I think everyone should be getting blood work done at least once or twice a year. And I have all of my ladies get blood work done when we get started. So I can see what's going on underneath the hood, right? I can see what does their glucose look like? What does the insulin look like? Like, so then we know more specifics on how to just, again, make their plan more custom to them. And also hormones, especially with females, like hormones play such a big role, especially because if we've had years of high stress, of crazy HIIT workouts and being a new mom, and then also you're working crazy hours as you're climbing the ladder, right? And cortisol is sky high. And then this, again, getting a little sciencey, but cortisol, you want cortisol, but when it gets over how much you want, it's going to pull from progesterone because it needs the building blocks and it'll borrow from progesterone. When progesterone tanks and estrogen is higher, then that's when things like anxiety come in, you're feeling more anxious, you can't sleep as well. And then potentially could also promote fat storage around your belly, where people say the fupa. Right. So then you're like, oh my gosh, it's hormones, which yes, it is hormones. But if you don't know what's going on and we don't have that data to know like, okay, what is actually happening in your body, then we don't know how to address it. So then from there, as far as like specific supplements and things I recommend. So first, getting blood work done. 2, there are a lot of natural supplements depending on what support you need. Like chasteberry is great to help naturally increase your progesterone levels. And then DIM is great to help detox out estrogen if needed. But really, once you get to your 40s and you're done having kids, if you're serious about wanting to really feel good, then I do think HRT is a great alternative. I know it's fairly newer, and so it's not something that I am like pushing in my program by any means. But for those who are really struggling or really concerned about it, I do say, hey, have you considered this? There's just been shown so many benefits of it, and to start earlier, before like mid 40s, before you actually go through the painful experience of like perimenopause. So that's my take on it. What is your take?
I mean, I think it's great. I think it's so amazing that like it was getting a really bad rap for a while, I think. And there was like some misnomers out there about like certain HRTs causing cancer. And a lot of them have been like debunked, to use your word. And because of the way my program is structured, I'm not going to necessarily recommend it. But I do recommend, if people are having a lot of these symptoms, I will recommend that they see like a functional MD so that they can get their blood tested, and so that like they can prescribe it. And like it's like kind of a conversation that I'll be like, you need to talk to someone else about it. But like I can see the signs and make that recommendation. And I mean, yeah, I for sure think I'll be a candidate at one point. I just actually started taking a little bit of testosterone, which is super helpful, like for energy. And I think it's great.
Yeah. And I love how you
Um,
said going to a functional clinic versus like a typical Western clinic. I have had a lot of ladies come in who are on it beforehand, and I see their lab work and they're like, I'm on it, but I don't like, I'm having like huge swings of feeling good and feeling awful. And I'm like, oh yeah, because the type they're putting you on is shooting your testosterone levels like 10 times what they should be. And then it's crashing. And then you're having this cycle. Like I would really recommend seeing a clinic that is more functional based who is going to look at your labs and just has a different lens, to really like a holistic lens, who's going to consider all that, versus like a Western clinic that's just like, oh yeah, here's a shot every couple of months. So I love how you said functional medicine, because
I'm a huge proponent of it, because to your point about the lens, like Western medicine looks at your numbers, and what seems normal is maybe not normal. Like, and they will downplay symptoms. I mean, I know I'm using like blanket statements right now, but like I've heard this from so many clients. Oh, my OB said, oh, that's normal. It's fine. And like, so we're being taught and we're being conditioned to speak up for ourselves and to not advocate because it's not that bad, or I should just suck it up, or maybe it's no, you probably need help. And so I just want to empower all the women out there to like trust yourself, listen to yourself. Like if you don't feel like yourself, there's a reason why, and you can solve for it.
Yes. Okay. I have one note on this, and then I have a question for you. And I know we have to wrap up soon, but yeah, 100%. For example, so when I look at the labs, I actually have two categories. I have like the clinical reference ranges, and then I have the functional reference ranges. So for example, vitamin D, 99% of the ladies that come to me, their vitamin D is low. And when that happens, you feel tired, you feel sluggish. That is a precursor to hormone. So it could be it's suppressing hormone levels. And they'll be like, oh, well, my doctor said everything looks fine. They never even are given the results. And so I look at it, and again, just an example, but vitamin D clinical levels are from 30 to 100. Optimal functional medicine ranges is from 60 to 80, right? So you're just more fine tuned in that. And so I looked, she's having all this symptoms. She said like, my get up and go has gone and left. And I'm like, yeah, like that is a great way to describe it. And I see her lab say her vitamin D levels are at 32, but her doctor, because they're like, oh, that's in range, right?
Yeah.
From 30 to 32, like that's in range, like nothing, I got nothing for you. Where I'm like, oh, you just need a high dose, high quality vitamin D. And within weeks, she was like, oh my gosh, like literally it was that simple. And I'm like, yes, but we never looked at this and never looked at it through this lens. So yes, this could be a whole episode because I get very passionate about it. But my question to you is, because I have definitely been through the ringer with gut health and then hormone health, because when you travel to all these third world countries, you get gut issues. And then when you have gut issues, that leads into hormone issues. And so there's been different times over the past handful of years where I have felt like crap. And for me, it more showed up with like working, but I think this could definitely tie into nutrition and training, where I'm just like, oh, my get up and go has gone and went, and making decisions that support me feels so much harder. But in the moment, right, you just think you don't have willpower. You think that
what's wrong with me? Yeah.
What's wrong with me? Like I should be able to do this. Like nothing's fun, the whole shebang. And so I would try to like coach myself out of it, right? Of like, oh, I need I just identify what I'm feeling. How do I want to feel, and create that and change my thoughts. And so I'm curious of how you teach that. Like, do you focus on, like, how do you know when, no, it's not just your thoughts, you need to like take it to the next level?
Yeah.
Or do you do a combination of both? Like, how do you coach someone like that?
So I just coached somebody, and she was like, I think I should just accept it. My OB said I'm fine. I'm like, we're not going for fine. So how I coach is I wouldn't coach them to see a functional MD, probably, most likely, I don't know, because everyone's going to be different, until like the end of my program, because 99% of my clients feel 100% better once their blood sugar is balanced, because when their blood sugar is balanced, right, then their insulin's balanced, and then so many of their other hormones kind of, it's like a waterfall effect. So honestly, I'm surprised actually that it's not like more like 90%. I probably refer 1 out of 50 people to a functional MD.
Yeah.
And that would be towards the end of the program or when they come into masters, because most of my clients will quote unquote graduate from Yummy Mummy experience and then they go into the Yummy Mummy masters. And so at that point, like my client who is a master, she came in and she's like, I don't have my mojo. It's just like you just said, like, I don't have that get up and go. Something's off. Something is different. And it is that line, right? We don't want to gaslight ourselves. We don't want to be like, it's just your thoughts. Like, no, it's freaking not. And like, I think I coach a lot of like intuition and gut feeling and a lot of that. And your body will tell you, like, if you can listen. And I think that's where coaching comes in, because I can kind of read my clients. Like, I know if it's a legit reason they need a functional MD, they probably need some sort of supplement or who knows exactly what it is that they're going to need. But I know at least to refer out versus like a quit, like a legit or quit. Like a quit is like an opportunity where you're using an excuse and like you feel like shit because you just ate like an entire bag of Oreos, like, and you want like a magic pill. Like, no. Right? That's an opportunity. That's an excuse. Like, you don't feel good because of your thoughts that caused you to eat the Oreos, and now your thoughts that are causing legit you to not get back. So yeah, like a legit or quit. And usually, and especially the more that you attune to your body and communicate with your body and have a relationship with your body, start asking your body questions, the more in tune with your body you are, the more clear the answers are in terms of like, if you just coach yourself, like, hey, is this a legit or is this a quit? Like, I remember this in like my postpartum period and leading up to my second birth with Phoenix. Like, I remember just trying to push myself to work. And my body's like, we need to rest. And I would be like, oh, we just got to coach ourselves. We got to coach ourselves into this. Like, we got to stick to the schedule. And finally I was like, no, you need to rest. Your body is like screaming at you. And this is a legit reason. We're 9 months pregnant. We need a rest. And our culture too will give you that badge of honor for working right up until you gave birth and bring your laptop to, I mean, I won't give you a badge of honor. I think you should take a month off at least before you have that baby. But my point is, my body was screaming at me and I had to not coach myself out of it, because that's when coaching is not good and you can use it against yourself, like to your point in your story.
Yeah, I love how you say legit or quit. And I do agree, like you, when you like actually really think about it, like when I would have good days, I would be like, oh my gosh, I feel amazing. Like, yeah, something is wrong. Something is wrong because on that day I did not feel good at all. It's like I felt like I was a different person.
Yeah, sometimes you can't see until like hindsight is 20/20 kind of thing. Yeah. And I mean, and then you can use that to your advantage for next time something comes up. No, I do know. But I think our culture feeds the hustle wheel or the like, no, just buck up, just suck it up. Like, let's go, right? Yep. Like, get your big girl panties on.
Yeah, sometimes I have ladies and I'm like, hey, actually, I want you to not work out this week. And then they make so much progress and they're like, wait a minute, how did that happen? And I'm like, yeah, you're too stressed out. And it's blocking you from like changing your shape. And it's like their world gets flipped upside down because they're like, wait a minute, I'm doing less and I'm like taking care of myself. And that's what I need to do to decrease body fat. And I'm like, yeah. And like, yes, there's a spiritual side of it, but it's also science, right? If you got high inflammation, your body is not going to be like, yeah, let's just decrease body fat. It's going to focus on that inflammation.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, this is so good. I feel like we could talk for hours. Oh, I have more questions, but I guess we'll just have to do another episode. So Jenny, tell the listeners how they can find you.
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram at Jenny the Nutritionist. And I also have a podcast, which you're also on right now too. It's called Create Your Shape with Jenny the Nutritionist. And then if you want to learn more about working with me in my program called Create Your Shape, then you can go to jennythenutritionist.com/create-your-shape. And then Laura, tell all of my audience where they can find you.
So fun. Okay. So you can go to lauraconley.com and you can get on the wait list. The next cohort is starting, Jenny, I don't know when you're going to air this, but our next cohort is starting April 16th. So I run cohorts 4 times a year, but you can just go to my website and get on the wait list or sign up, whatever you want to do. And I also obviously have a podcast. So it's called the Yummy Mummy Podcast with Laura Conley. And my Instagram is Laura Conley Coaching. My name is LauraConley. So Laura Conley Coaching on Insta. And I think that's it. I think that's the scoop. Oh, Jenny, I will give you a link if you want to put it in your show notes so that your listeners can get a bonus. It's called Create Your Perfect Weight Loss Plan. And it's usually $37, but we'll give it to your audience for free if they want it. And yeah, that's
awesome. Yeah, we'll
have
that in the show notes.
Okay, cool. Okay, thanks everyone. Love you so much. I hope you guys all have the best week ever. This was so freaking fun. Thank you, Jenny, so much.
Thank you to Laura. And I don't know, I feel like we could talk for hours. This was a really good discussion. So maybe we'll do it again.
I know, so good. Okay, bye y'all. Hey, if you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, I would love it if you leave a rate, review, and a subscribe on whatever you're listening to this podcast in. Pretty pleased with a cherry on top. It would help me so much, and it would help all the other mamas out there hear this message. Thank you in advance. I really appreciate it. And you have to come check out the Yummy Mummy experience. It's my proven lose weight for the last time group coaching and course. Head to lauraconley.com and just click work with me. Other than that, you guys, I would love to give you a free gift. If you want your free listener only gift, go to lauraconley.com/gift. And from there, you will get your free best ever weight loss hack. So cool. The last thing I want to tell you, you guys, is I do have a free Facebook group. It's called, you guessed it, the Yummy Mummy. Lose weight for the last time, end body drama, and get food freedom. You can just search that in Facebook, or again, you can head to the show notes and you'll find the link there. All right, you guys, have the best day ever.